Dear viewers, my name is Jojo Seo. Um, I'm making a presentation on the history of Africa. This is part of my research as a student of theology, and I am focusing on the history of the African people. As African, for a number of times it has been said that African people didn't have history until the coming of the white people. But that is not true, because in as much as we didn't have written history in Africa, Africa will still preserve their history in other ways other than having it in a written form. We are able to establish today that African people will have their history recorded in their literature, in proverbs, in the legends that speaks about the great people of Africa. Our history is embodied in such records, in as much as it was not written down. Now, I want to talk about African civilization in the context of World African Empire, and I want to talk about the Ashanti Empire in Western Africa. The Ashanti people, today they are found in the country of Gold Coast or Ghana. I want to talk about their political civilization, rather political organization. We are able to establish that the Ashanti people had a highly centralized and sophisticated political system. They had a well-structured hierarchy that balanced their centralized power with the local autonomy. At the highest level, they had a king who was known as the Asante. This king was the supreme ruler in the Ashanti Empire, holding both political and religious, or rather spiritual authority. He was the head of state and head of the military wing of the empire, and he would extend his power throughout the empire. This supreme leader, who is called the Asante, he was chosen from a royal lineage, particularly a clan that was known as the Oyoko clan, and he would rule from a centralized place, their capital, known as Kumasi. Among the Ashanti, they had something that symbolized their power. It was a golden stool, known in their language as Sika Dwakofi. It symbolized the unity and the soul of the Ashanti people, and it legitimized the rulership of the Asante or the king. Now, this empire also had a system of check and balance. How did they achieve this? The king will not rule on his own. He was assisted by a council of elders. So the king didn't have absolute power. He was advised by the council of elders, made of chiefs from the various regions of the empire, as well as the senior family members in the empire. That notwithstanding, the chiefs were in charge of provincial areas. They equally had their autonomy, like they were in charge of the areas within their jurisdiction, but they still reported to the king, who was the supreme leader. In other words, they owed their allegiance to the king. They were the central authority. Now, besides the council of the elders made up of the various chiefs within the empire, we also had the Queen Mother. The Queen Mother was called Ashanti. The Queen Mother also held a very significant a very significant political power within the Ashanti system. The Queen Mother had a say in selection of the chiefs within the empire. She was also responsible for the issues related to the women within the empire. In essence, she played a significant role in governance, in advising the king, and also directing the course of events. The Ashanti people also had a very strong military and political system, and this is what enabled them to succeed. Remember, it is recorded in history that this is one of the African nations that fought fearlessly against the invasion of the Europeans, and there are a number of wars that they won. And as if that is not enough, the Ashanti people also had a system of bureaucracy like we have in governments today. Their political organization featured a bureaucratic system, including officials responsible for tax collection. They had officials responsible for diplomacy. This is a system that had something that can be compared to ambassadors today. They had a foreign office that will link them with other empires, with other nations around them. They also had a legal system. The Ashanti had a well-developed legal system based on their customary laws, which will help them to resolve the disputes. The local chiefs were in charge of the local courts. They would listen to disputes and assist. But they also had a system of appeals where various grievances that the chiefs were not able to handle would be taken to the court where the king resides, so that the king would preside over such disputes that had grave consequence within the empire. So this is what ensured that this empire remained strong, because their issues were centralized. You know, like in Kenya today, we can speak of bottom-up model. This is not new. This is something that the Ashanti people will exercise, that power will flow from the local level to the highest level. They had a system of check and balance. So the king would be removed from power if there was a violation, if there was a gross misconduct, if the king would deviate from the law, because the king was the spiritual leader. If he failed to lead the community as stipulated in the customary law, then the king will be banished. Today in Kenya, we are talking about impeachment of the sitting deputy president. Within the Ashanti Empire, we had such check and balance that the king will be impeached in the event that he failed in his role as the king. And so it suffices to say that civilization in Africa did not just begin with the coming of the Europeans to Africa, but Africa would thrive and continue to thrive even today with or without the presence of Europeans. Thank you.